Hi, and welcome to this presentation called Cut the Chains of PTSD. Specifically, we're going to talk to you today about the underlying components of post-traumatic stress disorder. We're going to talk about the increased sources of PTSD, and we're going to talk about countermeasures. Hi, my name is Michael, also known as Mr. Advocate. I'm the founder of RiseToYourTop. Okay, let's look at these underlying components. Understanding these will help us when we look at the countermeasures, because we need to counteract some of these issues with our countermeasures. So the first thing is really it's a reliving of the trauma. Whatever the source of stress was, basically there's a reliving of it going on. So we're continuing having the stress as though it just happened now. Second is there's a fear of reoccurrence in real time. Yes, we're reliving it as happened in the past, but we also will have a fear that this particular trauma will happen again. So we have this fear of reoccurrence. Next, we have possibly the guilt of the involvement. We may have some guilt that somehow the trauma was caused by us, or that we should have prevented the trauma from happening. So often there is a guilt associated with this trauma. And then there always seems to be some type of a stimulus or a trigger that brings back this reliving of the trauma. It could be a sound, it could be a visual thing. Some part of our sensory perception it stimulates it to bring us back to relive this particular trauma. Now, the sources of PTSD is increasing geometrically. More and more stresses are happening just about in every component, of our life. For example, in our families, we have more family conflict. It could be anger. It could be divorce. It could be abuse, and unfortunately, that's happening more and more. We could get our trauma from an accident. Some accident may have occurred. It could be a car accident. It could be falling off a ladder accident. Whatever it is, there's a trauma associated with accidents. Severe weather, and we seem to be getting more severe weather, whether it's a hurricane or a tornado, but also here in Southern California. Earthquakes, could be a source of PTSD. Fire could be just normal home fires or fires in commercial, building. But again, forest fires, wildfires are becoming more common, unfortunately, and the pain and the damage that they create is quite severe, creating again trauma. Leadership decisions. This probably isn't known as much or even thought about as much, but a leader who is truly concerned about the people they lead, really want them to do well. If they've made a decision that has harmed the person financially or relationally or physically or emotionally, it creates a trauma in them. So they could be a business leader, a political leader, a church leader. It could be a leader of a family. It could be coaches. So more and more trauma is coming from the decisions that go sour, on us. Sexual abuse has always been around as a PTSD, issue. Obviously still is, maybe getting worse. Loss of a job. Yeah, we're just going through this whole aspect of COVID-19. Lots of jobs were lost. And the people, what did they do? It wasn't anything that they did. They just lost a job. Something came from nowhere, and all of a sudden, they don't have a job. They could be facing personal bankruptcy. Personal bankruptcy can move into homelessness. I mean, this is trauma. This is really trauma. Corporations can go, bankrupt, and many have, as well. And of course, we always think, of the military. And PTSD is normally associated with them. And it reminds me of a story. I remember was having dinner with a colleague who happened to be, an ex-military, fellow. We had a great steak, dinner in Chicago. It was a great dinner. I mean, we really enjoyed, the meal. And we got up, we go outside, to the car, and all of a sudden he is throwing up, like all over the place. I'm like, instant throw up, and so whoa, I ate the same thing he ate, so it was like kind of confusing why I was doing. So what's going on? And he said, well, I just had a smell go through me of burnt flesh. Oh wow, so he's telling me the story of Central America, a jungle, boom, boom, boom. I'm not going to go over the details, but something triggered. See, it was a smell, maybe it was a steak or something that did something, triggered that PTSD thing. And this is a big, strong guy, and he's shaking. I mean, the trauma is real. It is very, very real. So we think of the military, and of course they have seen and experienced massive, trauma. Now, I want to look back in terms of who is most prone to PTSD. And it's the person that I specialize in, the misunderstood creative thinker, also the melancholy temperament type. Why? First of all, they have an unbelievable memory. They remember everything in great detail, in technicolor. So if they've experienced a trauma in the past, they can remember it easily. Other designs live in the moment. They hardly remember what happened an hour ago. It's not really part of their fiber. Or some people actually live to the future. The melancholy, the misunderstood creative thinker, they have a higher propensity of the past. Plus, again, they've got this vivid mind. They actually dream in color. I mean, when they dream, it's like it's happening right now. So, of course, anything that's happened in the past, they can relive very easily. And that's why probably about 20% of the population, have PTSD. Not 1 or 2%, 20%, because I suggest that the melancholies experience trauma in some aspect of their life, financially, relationally, physically, spiritually, somewhere. So they have a high propensity to it and probably have it. So anybody that who's a misunderstood creative thinker probably has PTSD, whether they know it or not. And they need our help. So let's give them some countermeasures. First of all, the evidence matrix. The evidence matrix is looking at the evidence to see whether they should have this fear of reoccurrence. My friend who had his experience in the jungles of Central America, well, he doesn't live in the jungles of Central America, and he's not in the military. So the chances of it reoccurring aren't that much, even though from his perspective, they may be. So we say, well, let's look at the evidence. Let's look at where we're living right now. What are the probabilities? They call it cognitive therapy technique in psychology terms. But the evidence matrix helps us deal with the fear of reoccurrence as well as the stimuli. Every time I smell steak, is something bad going to happen? No, it's not. Every time we smell steak, something bad is not going to happen. But we have to go through the evidence to sort of debunk some of these triggers that bring back, the trauma where we live it, again. Evidence matrix is very big. Forgiveness. Whoa. Okay. Another powerful deal here is forgiveness. And this deals with the guilt of involvement. If truly the person was in a leadership decision point of view and something bad happened, let's say in the military again, you could easily have some guilt. from the trauma that happened in your life, as well as the trauma that happens in other people. So we need to deal with the guilt. And the whole concept of forgiveness is being set free. So we need to help the person who has PTSD be set free. And that's really the cutting aspect, cutting the chains, of PTSD. So the benefits of the trauma. Now, what benefits could there be, of a trauma happening in the jungles of, of Central America? Well, not in that transaction in itself, but there could be benefits that can occur or accrue, if you like, to the person who experienced them. They experience something they don't want somebody else to experience. So they can help others in the protection side to be protected from that trauma. And again, it could be from an accident, it could be severe weather, it could be fire, it could be the leadership, So protection is very important, especially to our melancholy or misunderstood creative thinker. Because you know why? They accumulate every trauma they've had. So it's not just this one, it's this one, and it's this one. And could you imagine having 4, 5, 6, 7 different traumas that you're reliving substantially, continuously, and maybe even at the same time? That's horrendous. That's why this group, as they grow older, their propensity, unfortunately, for suicide goes up, because their pain is increasing from experiencing more and more of these traumas. And so protection, we must protect our misunderstood creative thinkers, our melancholy temperament types, because boy, they're prone to this, and there's an accumulation factor, at the same time. And then increased personal value, because it's like the alcoholic. Who can best serve another alcoholic? An alcoholic, dry alcoholic. So if we can cut the chains from these melancholies, from these misunderstood creative thinkers, they're in the position helping other, melancholy types. And that's a great thing. So the value goes up as a result of this trauma to help these people. This is a reality. The reality is there's going to be traumas there. So it's not the issue, do we have traumas? Yes, we need protection, but it's not going to be foolproof. Some of our melancholies are still going to receive it, and they're going to have some help in cutting those chains. So there you have it. It's all over the place. PTSD, all the melancholies. Well, let me suggest have it. That's at least 20% of the population. We have measures, countermeasures that we can help in. And one last thing I want you to go away with is, these aren't individual things that you just deal with as individual points. This is one point made up of individual parts. Cutting a chain is very difficult. You need something very powerful to cut a chain, right? I mean, we're not going to take some scissors. This ain't going to cut it. These scissors aren't going to cut it. We need the big boys. We need something powerful to cut those chains. So we need to do all of these things together as one unit. The evidence matrix and forgiveness and determining the benefits of the trauma and having increased personal value. When we can get those as one unit, then we got to cut it. We got something that we can be set free from. So that's the message that I want you to take away, that this is a one-point solution, laser sharp, a lot of heat, to cut those chains. Again, we got so many people that need us. We got to look at any melancholy. It doesn't matter what behaviors they're having right now. Any misunderstood creative thinker. Let me tell you, they have PTSD. We must help them. Invite them to watch this video with you, and help them process, this horrible thing that they have in them. Again, I'm going to be doing 72 videos to help us deal with all kinds of stresses, anxieties, panic attacks, depressions, all these types of things, because boy, there's just millions, if not really truly billions of people that need to be helped. And if you know one, you live with one, I know you love them, let's get this done together. I look forward to the next video so we can help these people be set free. Thanks for listening to this one. And again, I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye for now.